Yes, sir.
Hello, Mr. Mike.
Hello there, how are you?
It's on. We know each other. We're neighbors almost. And my question is this. Now, Governor Snyder has mentioned that he would like to take all the unions and ship them out overseas or whatever because he don't believe that there should be anybody taking and negotiating wages, benefits, or whatever. Now, you was a union man, you worked at General Motors, and I don't think you ever voted a contract down or anything.
Oh, but I did, yeah.
You did?
I voted against some, yes.
Or did you? Okay. Well, I never did, but I've been a union member for well over 40 years and everything. But how do you stand on the deal of not having people to negotiate wages or benefits, you know?
Okay, can I correct you on a couple? I think you're talking about the emergency financial manager. Is that the issue you're talking about?
Well, there was whatever Governor Snyder mentioned about that, he didn't believe that there should be anybody negotiating contracts. Maybe it was for state employees or something, I'm not sure.
No, I think you're mistaken on that because he has said over and over and over again that he will negotiate with the employees and he will not go in the direction that Wisconsin has decided. And all the contracts are up this year, and the plans are to negotiate.
Yeah. Well, see, that's not the way I understood him to say myself.
Okay.
You know.
But that's what he said over and over and over. You want to talk about the emergency financial manager? Anybody want to hear about that?
Yes.
There are cities and school districts and cities and school districts, and could be counties, that are literally going bankrupt. And when I was in the House, we passed legislation to appoint, the governor would appoint a person to go into these cities, school districts. One's Detroit, one's Flint, one's Pontiac, one is Benton Harbor, as of right now. To appoint a financial manager that could make decisions to right the ship so they didn't go bankrupt. Now the reason they're going bankrupt, numerous reasons that they are. But a lot of it was because the elected officials led them in that direction. Somebody led them in that direction. It happened. And somebody has got to solve the problem to keep them from going. They don't really go bankrupt. They go insolvent. And they quit paying their municipal bonds, which is a big deal. If you can't pay your municipal bonds, then the bond market. And there's cities all over this country that's ready to go broke. All over the country. There's a number of them in Michigan. But if they start going back on their municipal bonds, it's going to throw the bond market in chaos in this state. And then where are we going to be? We're going to be right back with another problem like we had with in 08 with the banks failing, the bond market failing. So the legislation was originally passed in '98, I think, to appoint one. And they didn't have enough powers because they weren't able to do what they needed to do to solve the problems in the town, the city, the school board. So we increased the ability for the financial manager to make some changes that some of those felt like they needed to make. And the one contentious one was that he could eliminate the contracts of the union employees. And that was what some of the managers felt that's what they needed to do, was renegotiate with the unions. And it's not like they can't ever renegotiate again. They can still negotiate. They can negotiate before they ever get to that point. I think we've got some material, don't we, Ryan, that we passed out about the emergency financial manager. And what he has here, what we have, it's in the law. There's some steps that you have to go through before you're ever even considered for a financial manager. And some of you employees would be interested to hear this. One of the reasons that you could be in trouble for a manager is because there's written notification that the local government has not timely deposited its minimum obligation payment to the local government pension fund. So if cities start going default on their pension fund, that's a reason, the first reason, one of the first reasons. Written notification that the local government has failed for a period of 7 days or more after the scheduled date of payment to pay wages and salaries. So if you can't pay your wages and salaries, There's another reason that you look like you're having trouble. Another one is failure to file an annual financial report on time. Or you could even, if your local governing body requests it, that could put you into that position. So there's numerous things that are what you might call initial reasons to cause people to think that you're having financial trouble. Then there's actually another level that they go to. Then the third level is actually appointing the financial manager, and then the financial manager has the powers to do these things. I don't know if we have enough things passed out. If you need something else, call my office and we'll be able to get you some stuff.
I'm Don Weber, and I'm sorry that I am out of your district, but for information, last night I listened to the Ed Schultz show, and the mayor of Lansing was on there, and apparently he has no conception what the information on your paper is, and neither does Ed Schultz. So if you guys are sitting down there in Lansing and not getting information out to these rabble-rousers that don't, I mean, I as a citizen don't know the facts, okay, so who's right? Is Ed Schultz gonna say he had wrong information last night if he gets it from you? Probably not. The mayor of Lansing, is he gonna say that I had a mistake because according to the mayor of Lansing, every municipality is going to be replaced in the state by these managers. True or false?
He's crazy.
You said it, not me. And then the thing that I would like an answer to is in the news media, they said that there is no cap on a wage of these managers. True or false?
There's two levels, but there isn't. On the second level, there's not. There's not a cap on how much they get paid.
So who determines the wage?
I'm not sure about that. Can't tell. Maybe it's the treasurer is actually in charge. The treasurer's in charge of appointing them, and I can't tell you. I'll have to get back to you. The state treasurer is in charge of appointing these financial managers. I can tell you there's a whole lot of stuff out there that's not true. And the Lansing mayor knows the truth. And nobody is getting the truth out. But folks, there's some serious problems with some of our cities that something's got to happen to them. Let me tell you, one is in a financial manager right now in Detroit Public Schools. For example, I said $50 at one time, but I think it's closer to $75. $75, every one of you, man, woman, and child, pays $70, every one in the state of Michigan, $75 to the Detroit Public School System. It's failing. 25% of the kids starting 9th grade graduate. The rest of them get nothing. It's failing. And I think it's a shame. Flint is the same place. The school system is failing. I don't have the statistics on how many kids are graduating, but the money that we're pouring into them. So,
You can't get rid of bad teachers.
well, we're working on that too.
Yay.
I don't know if any. Oh, got another question?
Go ahead
Okay.
and finish that statement.
Anybody seen Waiting for Superman? I'll tell you, you'll have tears in your eyes when you watch that and see what's going on with some of our school systems. People trying to get out of the school system that's failing, they can't even get out. Yes, sir.
My name is Dan Surda, Vassar. I spent 20 years in prison on that.
Prison? Yeah, you did.
As an employee. I can tell you where many of the mentally ill people, they would get out of the regional center and other places. I spent many years at the reformatory in Ionia, which is called Gladiator School. The battles that went on every day. You talked about being attacked. Well, I know all about that. But, and Camp Pastoral, that's why I finished up. There's quite a too. But anyway, the Department of Corrections, the mentally ill people were dumped into the prison system. That's where Governor Granholm wanted them. So, and then they got into the system, and then she demanded that they be paroled. So many of these people got out on parole because of Governor Granholm. Secondly, to save money, that's why there's all this parole. Well, the prosecutors in the state, they fought against her, but many of these mentally ill predators, so forth, were paroled out because of Governor Granholm. Secondly, I'm on the planning commission of the city of Vassar, and we are going to have 2 places in Vassar yet to be determined where medical marijuana is going to be dispensed. There's 2, and there's nothing we can do about it. It was passed by a vote of the people, and most times we agree with the vote of the people, but not this time. But there are going to be 2 in Vassar. There's always one in Richville. Thirdly, I have a question. If the pensions should somehow be voted to be taxed, how much? Thank you.
The pension tax would be 4.25, where the state tax is right now. And according to, I can't prove this, according to the spin, this might be Republican spin, I'm not sure. Most everyone that earned less than 42,000 would not pay any tax. Again, I'm not sure it's spin, I'm not sure anybody has a handle on it. Let me say one more thing, Danny, about the prisoners. Did you know that we spend $22 a day per prisoner in the state of Michigan? I think there's like 47,000. $22 a day for prescriptions. For every prisoner. Now, they may not all be on them, but you take the dollar that we spend on prescriptions and divide it by those, it's $22 a day. And that's a problem. Most states, it's around 7. Now, we've got some serious problems in the administration of the Department of Corrections, some serious problems. We've got, like, for every person working in the prison, we've got, every 2 people working in the prison, we got 1 person in administration. So we got some serious problems, and we're working on those.
Many of those in administration never worked with the prisoners. They were
Oh yeah, they don't even know what prisoners are.
They
They
don't even
just,
know what they're doing.
no. So, all right, so I'll sell another hand. Oh, hi.
I want to hear something really
Positive?
exciting. What's going on in agriculture? Do you have some really good stuff we can hear? What's some exciting stuff that's going to happen for our farmers in
Well,
Michigan?
Some of you may remember I went all over the whole district upset with the funding cuts that the Department of Ag has had for the last 2 years. Out of a $70 million budget, they're down to $40 million, so they've been cut in half. The number one industry in Michigan that's actually improving. You have a billion people that's related to agriculture in the state of Michigan, and it's improving. They're growing. We're doing great things in agriculture, but the previous administration cut their budget in half. Some things that we really needed too, like food safety. I mean, that's important to us, isn't it? And dairy inspections. I don't know if there's any dairy farmers here, but that's I mean, those are some things that the state really is supposed to do, is oversee organizations and regulate them so that we can be happy that they're producing good food and good milk. Well, last year, or the year before last, they cut all the dairy inspections in half. And so they have done without it. This year they actually offered to eliminate it totally. And of course I have their budget, so I found some money somewhere else to keep them doing that. But food inspection is really important. Another issue is we haven't had, most of all our facilities that slaughter animals have all moved out of the state because of, I'm going to guess, regulations. Maybe have some DEQ folks back here, so I got to be careful if they've been over-regulated. But we don't have any processing plants of meat anywhere in the state. All our hogs go to Indiana. They cut them up and turn them into sausage and bring them back to Michigan. So we've actually, I just introduced a bill the other day, there's a fund you may disagree with. There's a $100 million fund that comes from cigarette taxes that goes to economic development to help companies expand and be more
Competitive.
competitive. Hang on a second. And so, believe it or not, my first bill was to authorize that department to spend up to $25 million on ag processing in the state of Michigan. So that's one thing. Some people may disagree with me on that issue. I've got a lot of flack from Tea Party folks that, what are you doing spending all that money and picking winners and losers? And I know, but it's not necessarily tax dollars. Remember what I told you about black and white? Nothing's black and white. So it's not necessarily tax dollars, but it is because we charge people that smoke, and it goes into that fund, and not all the money goes into that fund, some of it goes other places. But it is a fund for economic development, and that's one of the things that I propose. We start using some of that money for ag processing. If it's there to be used, let's use it for ag processing. Well, that's one of the things.
Mike,
Yes, sir.
couple of questions, if I can remember the second one from the first one. So I have this span problem with going from one room to the other at my age and forgetting what I went there for. So I'm gonna try this time. But we hear drill, drill, drill. Back when I could afford to drive up north, $2.50 a gallon gas. Until recently, there's all this drilling going on. Flames shooting up all over. Occasionally now when the kids throw a little money in the slush fund for me to be able to drive up north, everything's capped. Why do we need to drill more if we've already capped what we drilled? Any answer to that?
First thing I gotta tell you is I don't know everything. I don't know that.
Far be it from me to ask the question. But anyway, you might ask that sometime from those powers that be. Having been around the horn of the school board business for a few years, I was flabbergasted when I first got involved with the MESP to find that at that time the Detroit School Board had chauffeur-driven limousines. The beginning of big
And
problems.
I voted for a bill in the legislature to eliminate that. I mean, do you think state government had to get involved to keep a school board from driving limousines all over Detroit? How much do we micromanage, you know?
Right. Again, depends on whose ox you're going to go on. And when you folks start wearing the ox up there, inevitably, we're the fall guys. We're the people of last resort. You're going to get us one way or the other. It's either going to go to Lansing, where we lose 50% in the process, or we can pay for it locally and keep 100% of the process. But when it comes back to us, don't expect more to go there. Thank you.
Well,
Our gas tax is one that they collected here at our pump, goes to Washington, they send us back 80% of it. Some states get 110%, we unfortunately get about 83. And that's what you're talking about, and it happens all the time. Sales tax, some of it goes to local funds, some of it goes to revenue sharing. And some of because our sales are not what they were, we're not collecting sales tax like we did in the past, that's being reduced. Some local communities are getting cut with revenue sharing. And you know what? It's tough all over. It is. I mean, we're cutting
that figure this year for revenue sharing. I haven't had those.
200 million, and I think he's holding back maybe almost another $1 million to encourage the local communities to combine services with other locals. So I'm not sure how much I'm not sure who's going to get it. I don't know the rules. I mean, all the rules and all that goes through the legislature, and that's just a proposal that he has. But everybody's hurting. State shaved off $1.8 billion. Your county's hurting because they're losing revenue sharing. They're losing property tax money. Your local townships are losing property tax money. School boards are hurting because there's not money in the sales tax enough. And it just goes on and on and on. Everybody's hurting. And then when we cut, it hurts them. And when they get mad at me, and we pass legislation for the school superintendents asked us to pass a law so they don't have to negotiate because they can't. We're working on one right now. So they can blame us.
drug testing people on welfare.
I support that. Remember, I'm only one of 38, and I will have a discussion with that with the appropriations director, but you know, it may come down to legislation, but I'll guarantee you there's a problem, or it would have been done by now. Well, maybe the problem was eight years, but I haven't got around to that. Well, the governor has proposed 4 more years of able-bodied folks on welfare, and then they're done. But if you remember the Engler administration, he shut them off. Able-bodied people who was on welfare, he shut them off. But every governor's different, and I'm not the governor. The governor only proposes, and we legislate. And so everything that the governor proposes, don't think is law yet until we legislate. Yes, sir.
I have to agree with what Don said here before about not getting the word out. And then, Mike, you just mentioned that the spend is possibly $42,000. If the people of Michigan would know that, you wouldn't have had half of the protesters down in Lansing. But there is an inability with Republicans on the state side, on the federal side, they just can't get something etched in stone. So I just want to go off with that. My other question is this. The bridge to nowhere in Canada. It has been said that the traffic is way down between the two countries. My question is this. There is, this can be publicly funded, or it can be funded privately by the private sector, Manny Maroon. Which side are you on, and which side is the governor on?
The governor is on public funded, using $3 billion of Canada's money. I'm on Manny Maroon's side. I think private people, if they can do it, ought to be doing everything. The government is left to do what privates can't do, and that's my position. There is a that's a big issue, bigger than what you'd ever think. I know you don't hear it much out here, but that is a big issue. Let's see, there was something else I wanted to talk. Oh, let me tell you, so I don't, and we can stay all night, I don't care. But before I forget, there's a proposal to make all the state employees pay 20% of their health care. All the state employees and the school teachers. And legislators, staff, everybody, 20%. And I don't know where it's going, but we are just getting inundated with people complaining about that. And I know this is a good place to point that out, because I just got applause. But one way you can help, if you will, and it may not be necessarily at an event like this, but Representative Joel Johnson and I did a little forum up in Pinconning, and I brought in a guy to talk, he's a tax expert, to talk about how to appeal your property taxes. And I got there late, and they were already picketing. They were already picketing me before I even got there. And so I got in, and I listened to the guy, and then someone interrupted and wanted to talk about issues, state issues, that had nothing to do with what he wanted to say. And he said, if you just please, the senator will talk to you afterwards. So I did afterwards. Now, there was 3 or 4 guys that came up to me that was not with that group, and I could tell they were, well, actually, one guy did have a Tea Party t-shirt on, so I could pretty well tell where he was coming from. And we talked a little bit, and then I walked over to the group, there was about a dozen of them. And one of the ladies right off the bat said, hey, Senator, I work for the state, and you know what, I just can't pay another 20% on my health care, and it's wrong. What are you going to do about it? Well, I just looked at her, and before I could say a word, the guy behind me said, hey, look, lady, I work in a job shop, and I pay my own health care, and I pay all of my retirement, and why should I pay yours? Everything the group threw at me, they answered. I didn't hardly have to say anything. And so can we help the cause? If you need information, my office is just a click away. It's either a click or a call on what really is the truth. And you know what? I don't spin things. I'll show you both sides of it, because the Democrats have a pretty good idea of what the legislation is, and they will analyze it as to what they think it is, and the Republicans analyze it to what they think it is. Now, I never see the Democrats, because they keep it pretty close, but you know, they have ideas of the legislation that gets passed, and so don't be afraid to ever call my office on a bill. We have sheets explaining every bill that we have, and if you want the other side, call one of the Democratic legislators, and they'll send you a copy of what each bill explains. In fact, I think you passed some things out with legislation about analysis of the financial manager. And if you got some of those, if you didn't get one, call our office and we'll send you one electronically. So those are some things that you can help us do or help me do in the district, because I can't get around to everybody. I saw a question over here.
Mike, I'm Dave Turner.
Dave Turner, I remember you.
Yeah. Support for House Bill 4207 about the DEQ wants to prohibit homeowners from burning their own phone trash. I mean, here in America, you can't even, you've got to get permission to, when you can't do it, you've got to ask.
Well, that legislation is to allow it. On the DEQ's defense, at least I'll present their side, that there's so many people doing it that is really affecting the air in Michigan, and because of that, we possibly could lose federal funding, and that's what I'm getting from them. I think that's what brought that legislation up. The guys that are really hot about that are the ones in the UP.
You understand why? I mean, that should give a burn his own trash.
Well, the other thing about that is they want the local sheriff to enforce it.
Oh, my God.
I'm not sure what's going to happen with that, but enough people are worked up over it to where I don't think the DEQ would really like that bill to pass, so there may be some negotiating. But it's all about air quality. The federal government has got us so tied up with cleaner than clean in air quality. And we want clean air, don't we? But we do. I do. I want clean air. I want clean water. I want clean everything. It's just at what level can we maintain it?
At least we're not in Japan.
Yeah, I hear you.
Right here, Mike.
Yes, sir. Hang on, Larry. I'll get you in a minute.
Yeah, I hear everybody talking about all these little issues here and there. But could you put that chart back up that you had before with the graph that shows which ones are government jobs and which ones are private? There. Look at that, folks. 4 bars that are private, 6 bars that are government. What's wrong with that? The government has taken over our lives. That's what's wrong with it. Look at it. Everywhere you look, they are in your pocket. And Mike is trying to defend some of that, but there's only one guy. We need to defend that.
You know what? You can almost claim hills and dales because most of their money comes from either Medicaid or Medicare or private insurance companies. So I mean, you could include that. I don't know. It's enlightening, isn't it? Yes, sir. Mike?
I have to ask this question, but one of the things I've heard from a number of people is this right to work issue about people being able to work in a place and not being forced to join a union, not being forced to pay union dues, but that, like everyone else, if you want to do, you gotta have the people be willing to pay for that. I've had people that they're trying to push that. I kind of wonder if you've talked about that at all lately, and what's.
Well, I told you before, I said it on the campaign, I'm committed because I said it during the campaign that I don't support, I will not vote for right to work.
Amen.
No, I will not vote for right to work. I said that in the beginning. And I won't change my, you said I could change my mind? Well, let me tell you, it's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. It's an issue. The governor took it right off the table in the beginning. There's some things that are being proposed that may move in that direction. And I think we probably, I'm not sure that Michigan's ready to do it. I'm not sure that we want riots in the street, but maybe we do. I don't know. But there's so many issues that we need to get resolved before we get into that. So I think, I don't know, there could be enough votes there to pass that, but the governor's already made the statement that he's not going there, and so.
Said he would pass
Did he say that? Well, maybe it will then. Maybe it will then. Well, only won 38. Only won 38, okay? But one thing I would vote for, and I said this during the campaign, I would vote for right to work with government employees. Because I think that's different than it is with free market employees. It is different because it's coming out of your pockets. Marlboro, General Motors is coming out of their pocket. That's their problem, and they don't want it. So let's see, let's get one that.
Right
Oh,
here.
Larry, yes.
Gonna have some
I
new
don't know
names
if
tonight.
this thing's on or not.
It's on.
But, like for all you people going to work from where you live, I don't know if you drive back and forth. And then same way with people from Michigan that works in Washington DC. Why don't you do something from Lansing and the people and work with the people in Washington, see if you can get the gas price down lower? Why does it have to go up all the time, higher all the time? And I know it ain't you.
I don't know everything.
But, if you were a governor, I'd vote for you, if you were running. And another thing too, you know, that, guy, that Brown from Kitchen, I think he should be in office, because with that, guy that took over his spot, his wife got into trouble.
Let's not go there, Larry.
But I know, but
Okay.
I feel,
Let's just, I know you do, I know.
yeah.
All right, let's see. Here's a new one there. You, or you going? All right. I thought maybe we were passing it around.
To answer part of your question up there, the federal government back about, I don't know, in the 60s, early 60s or mid, they decided they were going to get away from foreign oil. Well, you got to watch a politician on what he says. So what they decided to do was to put $8 billion a year away to get away from it. Now, you know how they got away from it? They didn't. They now own all the property in the Midwest that has oil on it, and including on the west coast of Michigan. That's what happened to oil, and get it off the futures.
You're right.
Mike, I'm gonna have to cut you off.
Yeah, it's good.
Let's have a round of applause for Mike. Once again, I want to thank you for coming. Mike is always welcome to come to our Tea
I'm
Party
not going,
meetings,
I'll be around.
and we're always glad to have all you people come back. I've got some other things scheduled